so excited about your film, Dream Horse, because I love, inspirational horse movies, I have to say.
Look
National
no further.
Velvet, Black Stallion, and this seems like in that tradition. So when inspired this film?
Well, it's based on a true story from Wales, which is where I'm from, and it's the story of an ordinary woman, Jan Vokes, who works in a supermarket, and she has this incredible dream of owning a racehorse. Nobody has any faith in her because she's not a millionaire, she's not an aristocrat. Where's she going to get the money from? But what she does is she asks everybody in the village to chip in £10 a week into a syndicate, and then together they save enough money to get a foal who grows up and becomes this amazing champion.
That's so amazing. And Tony, what was it about the story that just resonated with you so
It's
much?
entirely inspirational. I just found it so empowering and so moving that this woman knows nothing about that world, but just has an idea to infuse some passion and some meaning into her life. And she puts all of her energy into this horse. She's so determined. And it's a very unlikely dream, but she makes it come true, and it changes her life, but it also changes the entire community in the village and the country. I mean, this horse goes on to be quite something. So I was very moved by it. It's that simple, to be honest.
It was important for you that this really be a portrait of the entire community as well, right? To really, just bring out, the Welsh countryside, the town, the people there, and really, make it their story too.
Yeah, well, this is a part of the world that's like a lot of places all over here in the US. It's part of the Rust Belt, places where people used to be miners, steel workers, and all that industry's gone, and these communities are left behind without those jobs. And with that went their pride and their self-confidence and their hope. And this is a story that I hope will speak to lots of communities across the world that says you can still dream, you can still achieve things. There's so much talent in those places, and your dreams can come true.
Were there any
There's
particular...
a song in that.
There is, isn't there? A musical.
Were there any particular horse movie antecedents that you were looking at? National Velvet or any others that you kind of kept in your mind either as a reference point or as something that you didn't want to do?
Do you know what? I watched as many horse movies as I could because horse racing obviously is a big part of the film and it's really tough to shoot. So I watched Seabiscuit and Secretariat and Champions and took all the bits that I thought would be useful for our story and borrowed the best bits of storytelling, because that's what we do as filmmakers. As artists, we're magpies. We pick things from here and there and bring them together to make it our own.
Have you always been a horse enthusiast, Tony?
Not really. But I think the film is actually so much more than that. I'm playing a real person. There's such a responsibility that comes with that. And she and her husband visited the set a couple of times, and given the truth of the story and the reality of it, I just didn't want to let Wales down.
And you haven't. You're an honorary Welsh. Tony's now an honorary Welsh.
I could
person.
easily live there. It was the most fabulous experience. It's the most physically beautiful, stunning place, and the people are so genuine and decent and generous and grounded. I loved my time there. I loved it. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you for coming.
We also just need a really great inspirational story. It's like there are not as many being made, it feels like, every now and then. And so to have this, it just feels like,
A film about hope and living your dream and, achieving it and not just fantasizing about it or thinking you can't do it, actually having the guts to follow through and inspire others as well. It's huge.
And you know what? It's not just about money. This isn't about winning a prize or making $1 million. It's about doing something for its own sake, because our Jan, who Tony plays brilliantly, has got passion for this thing, and I think that shines through.
Well, so IndieWire is basically like Hereditary Central. This is like, we've been such supporters of that film, and your performance in it is so astonishing.
Oh, thank you.
We were wondering, though, have you seen Midsommar? The
I can't watch films like that. Plus, before we started shooting Hereditary, Ari and I went to dinner in Salt Lake, actually, and he talked me through that script of Midsommar, and there's no way I'll ever watch it. I mean, I feel like he explained it fully. I don't need to see it. I just can't watch films that are that challenging because my imagination is already vivid enough. can't live with those ideas and images.
That's so interesting. Do you feel that it's often the case, like with horror, with other other stories as well, that maybe you can portray them, you can put them on screen, but it's harder to then actually revisit and watch them?
Once I've been a part of it, it's not difficult to look at because I've been so immersed in it, and I see it from so many different perspectives. But as an audience member, I would never choose to watch something like that. It's torture.
It's so interesting too because we've just got the Oscars coming up in a couple weeks, and it seems like horror is still having a bit of difficulty in terms of making inroads with the Academy. Like, why do you think that is? Why do you think that horror is just still a bridge too far for some people?
Well, a film like Hereditary isn't basic horror. When people think of horror, and they have every right to think of it in a way that's like a cheap thrill, but for instance, Hereditary is so artfully made and is so emotionally taxing and challenging. It's a challenging film, but I think people just have preconceived ideas about what horror is. And I wish that there was another name for it, because it isn't just horror. It's so many things. And I like that you can't, it is called horror, but it's really, for me, it was a family drama. It was about grief and changing dynamics within the family. And then the horror aspect obviously came into it towards the end, is planted throughout, but it's not, to me, that's not what I focused on.